But this is Women Matters in the first session of February 25. And at the moment we are in 6 of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different countries in the world. That's what's always fascinating to me. And we start with a check-in. Monia, you are in Vienna.
I'm in Vienna. Hello, everybody. And I'm interested to get to Gina, to get to know Gina better. And I also have a topic for Christine, but we don't have to do it. What can I tell you? Well, this week we'll have the marriage of my grandson, and everybody's sort of on their edge, and because there is a flu going around in Austria, extremely high percentage of people sick, and but we don't get any advice anymore as we did with Corona. They just don't dare to do anything, so people just get sick. And around us is so we wear masks, whether they help or not. It's just to feel better protected. Anyway, yeah, I'll pass on to whoever wants to follow.
I'll go. I'm Christine and I'm in Carlsbad, California, and glad to be back with you ladies. It's very nice. Yeah, probably, I don't even know I can summarize everything that's happened since before Christmas, but one of the main things is Tom was in the hospital. He had a endoscopy to check about his gallbladder and it caused pancreatitis, and he spent 3 days in the hospital and weeks getting better. He's still recovering, and on the 17th, I guess that's next week, he's going to have his gallbladder taken out. So that'll be good, and hopefully that will help restore some of his health. But you know, he's doing pretty well. He's doing pretty well. He's doing much better than when he was sick in the hospital. Um, And our daughter's wedding is coming up in April, April 11th. So details about that. There's always something to attend to. But my daughter's doing a good job coordinating and planning, and she's on top of it. So I don't really feel like I have to monitor too much. I just write the checks. And we're all deciding about our hairstyles right now. That's the big topic of conversation. So, and we're getting the RSVPs back from people, so that's fun. And for myself, I think I already told you guys I'm going to retire at the end of December, and looking forward to that. I may move it up, I don't know, but probably at the end of December. Um, and have been just kind of, thinking about that. What am I going to do with my time? How often can I get Lorraine to go walking or dancing or lunch? So that's a positive thing. Uh, what else? That's about it for me. I'm health-wise, I'm good. Work-wise, I'm doing fine. And yeah, I will turn it over to Lorraine.
Yes. Well, as I mentioned before, my life is totally preoccupied by this move. And I've been doing it in two segments. I sold my house and then I moved in with a friend, but all of my stuff is in storage. So now it looks like I found a place and where it's under contract. There's a move coming up, but I'm pretty exhausted. There have been so many changes and it's stressful. There are glitches, even though I have a lot of confidence in my realtors, there are glitches that come up in the making of the deal. And it So it's taken a bit of a toll. I haven't been able to exercise. I don't have my usual routines. I'm not eating the same food because I'm here, there, and everywhere. And so I'm looking forward to having one place again and establishing it as my home. So it's going to be a process. It's going to take a few months. But that's mostly where I'm at right now. But I'm still in Carlsbad.
That's the good
Christine,
news.
I
She's
think
still
I'm
going to be in
closer to you now than I was before.
she's still going to
Right?
be in the same town. That's good.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So, I don't know that I've met Hanali or Gina, so maybe pass it on to one of you.
I just wanted to say one more thing. I did meet in person with Victoria.
Yeah, good.
Actually, it was a day that Tom was in the hospital, and it was a Friday evening. And I just she had invited Lorraine and I to go listen to somebody play guitar. And I was like, I think I could use this as a distraction, as a
Yeah.
change of pace from being at the hospital. So I did meet her and her partner, and I'm blanking on his name right now. But it was lovely. I really enjoyed seeing her. So I just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Who wants
Maybe.
to-
I'll go. It's okay. I was watching Hanley.
I mentioned both.
No,
Yeah,
no, it's okay.
Gina.
It's okay.
Okay, great.
Actually, it's just a joy to see you again, Hanley. It's been forever since we've chatted. So lovely to see you again. So Lorraine, I'm Gina. I'm here in Victoria, British Columbia. So I'm on Vancouver Island. I look out over Harrow Strait to see America, San Juan Island. And it's cold here, cold for Victorians. We're not used to the cold. We have 0 degrees Celsius, which is freezing. So same as 32, I guess, in Fahrenheit. And so I'm busy with school. I got off to a good start, which is really nice. I have superb professors again. Even I would say 2 out of 3 last semester were good, but this semester I've got 3 out of 3. So very much enjoying my aging course. It's all about memory, intelligence, aging adults, how well their brains work in later life. And as the only person over, I'm going to give myself a benefit of the doubt, 40, well over that. And I'm reading about how my brain is deteriorating. I'm like, it's okay. We have neuroplasticity. We can keep going. But it's been really good. And the other thing that's been kind of fun is my colloquium, which is my cohort, is awakening the gentle activist in me in terms of health promotion for all. And that's been a kind of an interesting experience, just weighing the disparities in healthcare and neoliberalism and stuff that I didn't used to speak about. But otherwise, school's good. It's better this semester because I'm more used to it. I have 2 major papers to write in the next 2 weeks, but they'll be good. And other than that, of course, we have our attentions to our friends of the South, which is, I'm sure we're all feeling that pain, but we'll get through it. Okay, Hanley, give us a good news from the south of the equator.
Hello, Gina. Hello, everyone. Gina, it's wonderful to see you again after all these years. Also, Christine, I've missed you a lot. And Lorraine, I think I met you last year during 2 or 3 of our sessions, but it was like last year. It was 2024. But just maybe it's because my hair are tight because it's so hot and it's really windy. It's like stormy windy. So yesterday I went for a walk on the beach, a 3-hour walk, and I had a really interesting experience. It's always very interesting to walk back because then the sand is blowing in your eyes on the way back because we have the southeaster wind here in Cape Town. And so I was holding my hat because I don't want to burn my face. And my hat is quite big. And I was covering my left side of my face. The sun was coming from my left. And a Maltese dog came spinning, chasing another dog, and full speed into my leg. Oh my goodness. It's purple and brown and it was really sore. But it was quite an interesting experience of physics, of a small little animal like that can create so much impact. And then to just relate it what's happening in the world, it's like it was like a torpedo hitting me. And it was just a sense also. You're talking about the self, Gina. Well, we're also self, by the way. We're also impacted by what's happening on yourself, which is quite interesting as well. So there are so much going on. And I was really contemplating the last few days on how it's possible to keep our hearts open while all these things are happening. And just not to go into any fear or anything like that. So that's quite where I'm today. It was like really contemplating on that and writing a little bit about that. And a dear friend of mine from the US, he turned 80 yesterday. And another friend from Sweden turned 60 on Saturday. And I always think him of you, Monia, because he's just like you. He's just so much, still bringing new things into the world and just amazing energy and such an inspiration. So it's also amazing to connect to that beauty in life that doesn't matter. You're talking about age and our brains, plus it's just we don't stop living. We don't have to stop living at all. The bodies might struggle, but we don't have to stop living. So I'm sending you lots of sunshine from this part of the world and a little bit of winds, the winds of change. And I'll pass to you, Victoria, if you're ready.
Victoria is still having a breakfast, I guess. It's early at your part, but the other Californians are here. Maybe she is not yet ready, so I take over. My check-in is, I'm fine. I'm doing a lot of work outside, and again, like last year, I feel energetic and powerful and everything. Last year, it went away during summer, where you can't do so much because it's hot, and then I was up to, let's say, 2 months ago, I was really like, I'm getting old and things like that. And now I'm fine again. I'm going on the trees, cut the trees and make the beds for the new vegetables and everything. And I'm doing also some stuff for my head. I'm learning a new language. So I might talk with you aging experts a little bit because it's very interesting. And yeah, no, I'm fine. No annoyance in no way, and looking forward to what will be happening in the world because there are many, many predictions, even very good ones. So we will see what comes out. Oh, Beatrice is coming and even not in the car. That's fine. So you can take over. We all have checked in, so you can check in. Your mother didn't show up. She is here as a black, how do you say, window.
Well, maybe she'll make an appearance in a
Yeah.
bit. Hello. I've kind of forgotten how these work. Good to see everybody. I am in Portland, Oregon. I woke up about 20 minutes ago. It's my day off. I work at the ballet and we are going into our technical and / opening weekend this week. And so our schedule shifts because we'll be working on the weekend. We get Mondays off or sometimes Mondays and Tuesdays, depending on the schedule. What's new with me? For those of you who were not here last week, I got engaged on New Year's. I am taking a class on non-linear narrative right now, which is very interesting, and writing stories in different creative formats and using time as a medium. It's been very interesting, and I've been learning a lot and doing some writing and doing some creative work, which is it's always fun to have an outlet. What else? Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking forward to there's a lot going on this year, and sometimes I feel a little overwhelmed by all the plans I have, and sometimes I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to New Orleans this year. I'm going to stage manage an opera about Jacqueline Dupre, the cellist. It's a contemporary opera just with one singer and one cellist. I might be going to New York and teach a dance class for a weekend. What else? I don't know. Those are a few of the highlights.
Busy. Good.
Busy
Let's
year,
see.
busy year. And I haven't been sleeping the best, but I'm trying to get better at routine. That's been the daily struggle.
Let's see if Victoria is coming. Otherwise, we could start. What I was hearing a little bit, oh, here she is. Come on. First, your check-in.
Hi, everybody. Sorry, I was listening, but I had a bit of a drama with my laundry. Very quotidian, but I couldn't come on camera. So I was listening. So thank you, and good to see you, Beatrice. Long time no see. Yeah, I'm kind of overwhelmed. I'm doing too much all the time. Yesterday, that's why the laundry's become a drama, because I never seem to get time to do anything anymore. I'm going to all kinds of festivals, and which of course are frivolous, but I'm trying to justify them as an educational activity. Ethnic festivals. At the moment, they all have to do with the Lunar New Year, but I've gone to like 4 so far. And then yesterday, unexpectedly, so yesterday I was out for like 18 hours, so I'm a bit under the weather today. And on foot the whole time. I saw afterwards with the app on the phone that I'd walked 12 miles. So that's good, except now I'm in horrible pain with arthritis. Because yesterday we weren't planning to do that many things, but then there was an announcement that the cardinal here, who has just been, Pope Francis has just moved him to, I mean, he's leaving in a couple of weeks to go to Washington, D.C., because Pope Francis wants some sane person in the nation's capital to try to preserve human rights to some degree as much as possible. So he's just been, got that news recently. And so yesterday was his last chance to do something in San Diego for us, with us as a community. And so there was a big, and I only heard about it yesterday morning by chance. It wasn't well advertised. It was very spontaneous. He just wanted to do something before he leaves. So it's very admirable in that way. It was an interfaith service at the Catholic Cathedral downtown San Diego, followed by a march through the city to the federal building where all the government is. Of course, it's Sunday, so nobody was in the building, but it was very, very moving and very profound, and thousands of people turned out, even though it was a last minute. It was like a grassroots thing. It wasn't in the papers, or I guess they got the police notified in the nick of time. But it was really, really moving to see the incredible support and people turning out by the thousands. And so I was really happy about that. It felt good to actually take some, I don't know. Afterwards, I remembered as a child, my mother took me out of school on a regular basis to march in the anti-Vietnam protests. And I even got arrested at the age of 9. So I have a kind of traumatic history with things like this, but yesterday felt very positive and very just beautiful. The singing, there was a violinist playing in the march, and that was so nice. There was a Hispanic band, guitars and this violinist, and everybody singing in Spanish, and I don't know, it's just really wonderful. So it gave me a feeling of hope. I thought no one's going to defeat the human spirit, like even the greatest monsters in the history of mankind can't keep us down. So that was good. So I know that was a long. I feel it's my guilt at not checking in earlier, but anyway. So I'll so you've passed it over to you've checked in too, Heidi, which is
Yeah. Oh, I
So-
sort of did, yeah. But what you are saying and what I'm hearing from all of you, we could talk about how we are coping with these times of change, which are a very quick change. No, it seems to be every week some other news which you think, oops, okay, and then the next week something else, and so on. It seems to be as it was foreseen that in this period of our lives should be a big change, no? And this started with the Maya calendar, and were astonished that in 2012 nothing happened, but things don't obviously go like this. So it seems to start violently now, the change, and we don't know where it goes. And so for me, it would be interesting to know what your strategy is to keep up the spirit and not to get, no, I can't see that or hear that anymore. You know, listen to the things, how they are, without getting into fear or too much involvement or anger or whatever, you know. How do you do that? That would be interesting to me. Will we ask the joyful lady from South Africa, how do you maintain the joy?
I have to smile at that one, Heidi, because we're also in the middle of it. We've been drawn into the whole saga, which is really fascinating. And yeah, my personal experience with these type of things is to use a lot of embodiment practices to come back to my body and to get out of my head into my heart. Personally, that's been helping me. And to also move around, go on my walks, go and swim, dance, just move my body in whatever way. And also my spiritual practices, of course, but for me, it's also important to sort of step out of it and to look at it from a distance, even though we are also now in the middle of it. It's in so many different levels, and to almost look at it like from an alien's perspective, you know, like coming to Earth and seeing all of this happen and then being curious about it, rather than to go into a state of judgment. And if I find myself going into a state of like, that's really crazy, to also have some self-compassion. So it's okay, you know, to think these things are crazy and to just keep focusing on my own vision and why I'm here and what I want to bring to the world, simplistically said. But Christine, like you, I'm also curious, Heidi, just before we continue, what is the new language you're learning that you're speaking about?
I'm learning Russian. This is a challenge, I tell you.
Yeah.
I think it's even more difficult than German, but at least as difficult as German. But I'm sort of taken, you know, it's like closing a circle, because when I was at school, I was so fascinated from the Russian churches with these onion roofs and everything. And I took some afternoon lesson in Russian then, but I didn't remember anything. And with the school, we went to Moscow when that was still Soviet Union. And so when I now did the Italian exams I had to restudy a little bit, and I sort of was ignited by occupying myself with the language. I could have done a higher exam in Italian, and I thought, no, why? And so I thought, oh, I learned another one. And I said, oh, which one? Oh, yeah, sure, Russian. I try to. And I love Russian music. I love Russian books, which I might be able to read sooner or later, probably more later. But I'm absolutely ignited. Also by the difficulty and to remember the words. I mean, they are most of them so different from, you know, all the languages I know. So, but good. I love it. And I hope you keep me how do you say, accountable, that I don't stop because sometimes my head is like smoking, no? And I think, oh, let's leave it. No, no, no. I want to arrive at the point where I can understand and produce something, you know. So, and I find myself like I was with Italian at the beginning, where I thought, what is that? What are they saying? No? And then I have the experience that you can overcome. Now, what I'm looking for is some Russian person with whom I could speak, who doesn't know either Italian, neither German nor English, so that we can I can learn from them, and they can learn German from me if they want, you know. So the practice is when I learned Italian, I always was around Italians, so it was easier. Now I do it for myself, but I'm ignited, as you see, excited also.
I think it's fabulous. And I'll hold you accountable. I just wanted to say I'm giving the lecture series on Kandinsky right now at the university, and every week instead of like practicing like checking with the PowerPoint and the images and all those things, I just wing it with all of that. What I'm practicing before I go up to the university and the whole way in the car are all the Russian names and the Russian terms. And last week I was talking about Kandinsky going back to Moscow, and just he was on endless committees and all these long names, like 12 syllables, the such and such, the Committee for the Preservation of Culture in the Western Provinces of the such and such. And I was thinking of you the whole time, Heidi, because I thought this is fabulous that she's doing this, because it's so in your mouth, it's so, I don't know, it's a very sensuous language. There's a lot of, it feels like eating to to practice the words. I really
And-
love it. So
yeah.
keep it up.
And I have several insights also, which I don't want to say now, probably about the cultural aspect, also about the frequency aspect of the language and so on. We might talk, if you are interested, privately about that. I'm really fascinated also how language can influence culture. You know, that's absolutely obvious with what I'm learning now. So far for me, and I want to give over to somebody else. Gina, maybe you.
Well, Heidi, I would say Russian, great choice. My son picked up Russian in grade 11. Well, earlier, about grade, well, maybe a little earlier when we first went to Ottawa, because his friends were all Russian speaking. They weren't Russian, they were Ukrainian and Polish, but they're all Russian speaking. And he speaks great Russian, and he writes Cyrillic more tidily than he does English. And so he's got French, so English to French to Russian. He learned all the swear words first, though. He learned what not to say in front of a Russian mother. But I also have still a good friend in Ottawa who speaks Russian and many languages, actually. And so if you need someone who's a gentle teacher, maybe I'll hook you up. In terms of how we're coping, I think one of the interesting things about being Canadian is that we have our own artificial barriers between our provinces. We have different cultures across our country, much like the US does. But we occasionally need a little wake up a bit and get with the program. And so the last time we felt threatened by the United States, we actually confederated as a country. And so that actually brought us together. And so the threats being thrown through the air is actually helping us, I would say, grow up a bit, because we have artificial barriers between, like, it's ridiculous. A teacher Ontario can't teach in BC, and doctor who practices in BC can't practice in Alberta. Like, it's just insane. So I think that, with all the tensions, I think here in Canada, we're focusing on, okay, come on, let's be more productive. Let's deal with some of our own housework, and so that's where the energy is being directed. And it's not as terrifying as it is to see what's happening, particularly with my background in IT. I have faith in the American people, and I think that I'm hoping that their faith will hold them strong. So I'm holding on to that. But we're just gonna try to be a little less quiet about being Canadian. I think that's really it. And because we come from the same, European roots, we've got very strong European roots. We got that Irish and Scottish stubbornness. We've got the tenacity of Europeans who fought in wars. So I'm feeling positive. Of course, I'm a little bit worried, but I want to believe that America can pull through this. It's going to be messy, but I believe so. And hopefully Canada will be stronger for it, but we'll still be friends.
Yeah, and I
That's
would
me.
say that the world will go through this big period
Yeah,
of change.
but that's okay.
Yeah, you are in the train, I guess. We are
hmm
talking about how to cope with a strange change situation in the world, the big turnarounds which we are witnessing. You probably can't speak. We can invite somebody else from
No,
the
I
group.
cannot speak, not
Yeah.
freely. So,
So
yeah, but it
you-
was interesting. Thank you, Gina.
Mhm.
Yeah, I just had to pop in. I had my problems with the ticket and changing and stuff like that. So sorry for just a few minutes, and I have to leave soon again. Just saying hello.
Nice to see you anyway that you came. Shall we give over to Christine?
I'm not quite sure what I can say. Trying to microdose the news, so I don't watch a lot of news anymore. I listen a little bit to the radio, but I don't know. It's I agree with Gina that, the spirit of the American people may help us get through this, but there's so many people just looking away to things being dismantled. It's hard to imagine that 4 years from now things can be put back together again, because things are going to be taken apart to such an extent. I think it may be unrecognizable, and it's going to be hard to find people who will stand up and try to rebuild and reconstruct a system that was certainly not perfect, certainly had a lot of flaws, but at least was a little bit more honest and transparent than what we've got now. So I don't have a lot to say because I'll probably start swearing.
Don't swear. Probably when you see it in a bigger picture, that might be a way for the change, that the old things have to stop and new things have to be developed. Because when you try then to go back to old structures, I don't think this is how evolution works. So might be that this is the period where everything is questioned and is sort of destroyed. And who knows what will come out? It maybe come out something very good, maybe not. Who knows?
Maybe, except it's basically a regression. It's not an evolution, it's a regression.
Oh, well,
So,
we will
and
see
again,
later.
the problem is transparency and honesty. So you can't build things that are worthwhile based on falsehoods and
Yeah,
secrecy.
but
So,
you know, it's coming out so many falsehoods of the past in all countries. So I don't know if this is a criteria. I think we should see it as a possibility of something getting better at the end. In the meantime, we have to say goodbye to many habits, and that might be painful. But who knows? We don't know. I think we talked about Chris Page, the book LSD in the Mind of the Universe, where there were foreseen disruptions of very deep kinds for humanity. And maybe this is a means, it's the moment now. And at the end, the new human will arise. Do you remember that when we talked about that? So I'm very confident that something good at the end, maybe not in my lifetime, but maybe in Beatrice's still. Lorraine, do you want to say something?
It's funny, when I think about all of this, I realize I don't have an opinion about it. I feel like I am in the audience
Mhm.
watching the big disruption. We heard a really interesting and good talk by Saeed Dalabani the other day in our integral group, talking about this big transition, going from, in spiral dynamics terms, from first tier to second tier. And that you can't do that without going into this trough of chaos. And we're in chaos, and most of my life I've been afraid of chaos and have tried to manage it. And I'm dog sitting. The dog is having a comment. But you know, it's certainly sort of the genius of Trump is that he seems to pick up on what's going wrong, what's an issue, like the grievances of some of the, well, working class or underprivileged or whatever. And then he blows everything up. I mean, he doesn't exactly come up with solutions. He just blows it up. And, you know, as you were saying, Heidi, I do think there are some things that need radical changes. You know, there are bureaucracies that are overly complicated. But also, and this is a point that Saeed made the other day, we've got too many people on the planet. We can't serve them all. We can't meet everybody's needs. It's just, you know, we're totally overwhelmed. And he threw out this figure, I can't recall where he got it, that, you know, the earth needs to reestablish its homeostasis, that we have so focused on ourselves as somehow controlling or dominating the earth, that the earth is getting used up and is rebelling, so to speak. And that it won't reach, the earth won't reach, this is a killer, the earth won't reach homeostasis until 2/3 of the world's population are gone. So, you know, what do you do with stuff like that? I don't know. As you said, Heidi, not in our lifetimes, except for maybe you, Beatrice. But so I'm in a wait and see kind of mode. I mean, sometimes I'm enraged, sometimes I'm terrified. I too am sort of curating the news I watch these days. So it's just, you know, being sort of living with this uncertainty again. And I'm, you know, that's what's happening in my personal life too. There's a lot of uncertainty everywhere. So, you know, I'm sort of trying to hold it or be with it or not lose my mind in the process.
I want to add something or contradict something. The world could hold all the people if the richness wouldn't be accumulated in some people, and if it would be distributed, and the world is abundant, and the scarcity is created artificially. So if there would be other ways of living and dealing with the richnesses of the world, everybody could live well, but not exaggerated with 500 cars or I don't know what, houses and so on.
One of the other points was made is that basically the United States has infected the world with capitalism.
Yes.
Capitalism is purely selfish, and it, you know, uses all the resources at the expense of Earth. You know, it's a me, ego-driven, competitive situation. And we've infected everybody. I mean, you can understand how stuff like that, everybody wants a new car, everybody wants to, you know, tour other countries and travel, and, you know, so it's a messy situation.
This sort of capitalism, which gives the greed and the accumulation to very few people, and the others, that could be. I'm so hoping that in the background somewhere there are already people creating new ideas, new systems. I do believe that, and when this has broken down, that good people will come forth who have better ideas. And then we have to deal with these who think that they can do with money whatever they want. And we need to have some initiatives. I don't know what sort, but I'm hopeful. Really, I can tell how I cope. As I said, I learned the language, a new language, which is fascinating. Now I have for 4 years or even more, I have read and listened to almost everything. I have understood how the world is working. Now I don't need to listen to everything, which this one thinks that will be like this and the other things that I don't need that anymore. So I hear the news every now and then, maybe once a day, but not even so. And I have a few people who I follow and listen. Often people who are taking it with how do you say, like cabaret? How do you say that? Satiric ways of bringing the news. That is even, I like it. And I try to keep up this hopefulness. Because if I think we are here, we have a little bit a bigger view of the world. We are here to help the world in the moment, the world, no, you know, the whole thing in the moment. We are called to do that. And when we are in depression or in we can't do anything. And I'm waiting. If there will be another task than the one I'm doing already, then I will do it when the time comes. So we will see. And I'm very curious how things are going, developing. Sometimes I think, oh, this is a joke when I hear things, you know. It seems like a theater, comedy, often, if it wasn't so sad, you know, in many ways. But still, that's my way.
I was just thinking, Heidi, you're even talking like Kandinsky today. You're channeling, and you're in a fabulous position. You're in a unique position that you, he published, I bet like 90% of his writings in German, because he was, his
okay.
maternal grandmother was from the Baltics, so he was bilingual already as a young child. He heard all the Grimm's fairy tales in German and everything. And then he did some writing in Russian, of course. But you can bridge the whole, I mean, you can span the whole gamut. Because I was just reading yesterday, he was talking about the, you know, concerning the spiritual and art, which was apocalyptic before the First World War, but a lot of artists and intellectuals had a feeling that something, you know, there's going to be a cataclysm. So before the First World War, in concerning the spiritual and art, he writes about the idea of the thesis and the antithesis and the synthesis and that, and then after the war, now this week I'm lecturing on the Bauhaus, so it's in the early 20s. So he has to reframe that because, of course, he was looking for this great spiritual awakening, and, you know, there was this horrible war. But he says something interesting. He says there's the great synthesis. And so he continues to be optimistic, even though now he's on the other side of this, you know, devastating, you know, the war to end all wars. He still is optimistic, and he's still looking ahead that materialism is eventually is just unsustainable in the long term. And so there has to be, the spiritual has to infuse the material world and the material life in order to achieve this, now what he calls the great synthesis, which is like on a higher level. So anyway, I was just listening to you talk, and I thought, wow, she's like, she's the Russian studies are getting you into that spirit.
That's good. Thank you. Monja, what is going on in Austria in your mind? You are muted. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we are going to have a Integraler Salon on Thursday about Thomas Metzinger. I have been trying to put him in the chat, but my chat doesn't work, obviously. So it's Metzinger. Two of his books are in English already, but the one I'm relating to is called Bewusstseinskultur, so it's the consciousness culture. And he has a couple of points, what you do in changing times. As Christine said, a microdose of news, which he calls Medienhygiene. So you have a hygienic, that you don't subscribe to a horror channel all the time, because that's the easiest way to do what they bring, because news have to be mega and exciting and terrible and even worse. And so I'm taking myself out of that. Then he suggests that when you have positive experiences, that you repeat them. So, and of course, the easiest way to do that is in meditation. So he recommends meditation, and he meditates himself. He's actually, to us, he's something like a continuation of Ken Wilber, which Ken Wilber is, well, whenever I look at him with his wig, it's just heartbreaking to me. But yeah, that's the way it is. Yeah, and so that's what how I'm trying to cope. And of course, I do read a lot still, but mostly escapist literature, fantasy, about magic and the bureaucracy of magic. So it's quite fun. The King's Watch is one of the series by Mark Hayden, and it pulls me along through the day, and now and then I just look up around and say, oh yeah, still the same misery. We don't have a government yet. We don't, we have people protesting, 200,000 of people in Germany, and nobody is willing to accept the compromise or accept the attitude of others. So they just have their own vision of how things should be, and this is the problem in our negotiations for a government in Austria. It was different a couple of years ago, but now people really are just an ego tunnel. They're all in an ego tunnel, and that's also one of the books of Thomas Metzinger, The Ego Tunnel, and I could recommend. It's in English as well, and I could recommend it. And as Victoria said, the elephant and the blind. So everybody, when blind people have to describe an elephant, one says it's long, one says it's like a rope with the tail, and one has columns. And so our experience with meditation is different, I guess, for every one of us. And yeah, I'm going into meditation, and I'm also right now haggling with my my dreams, because I don't want to have any nightmares anymore. So I have a mantra when I go to sleep, and it seems to work, but I'm really fed up with having nightmares and irrational nightmares. And yeah, so this is my project, it's not about lucid dreaming, but it's about the quality of dreaming. And my experience is always with mantras. It has been for many, many decades, and I used it also when I go to sleep and when I wake up. So that's about how I'm coping with these times of change. And of course, at our age, and my husband's age in particular, because for a man, he is already old with 83. Yeah, we have to just make life as easy for us as possible. And don't go into every trap that might interest us, or because there are now lots of things breaking in our house. We live in a house with 7 apartments, an apartment house, and the management is either dumb, stupid, or corrupt. We don't know. And this is something we really have to, but we, as our apartment belongs to our daughter already, we finally passed it on to her that she should deal with it. So it's not as easy, but yeah. Yeah. So whenever hot news arrive, we just let them cool down. And we get our newspaper comes from Carinthia because our second daughter is living there, so we subscribe to a Carinthian newspaper, and it always comes one day later. And my husband is starting to read the Sunday edition, which is rather thick, the week after, and then he can just brush through it. It's yeah. So yeah, that's about all I can say about times of change. And I guess I would have been more worried when I was younger, but now I'm just sitting back, and many of the things we have experienced already several times. So it doesn't really, when you're born into a war, you just try to avoid that wars happen. And yeah. And I'm wondering about how I would feel if I were Canadian with Trump's announcements. He is either, I don't know, I don't know what diagnose him, but he is just really amazing, rather amazing, yeah. But he got elected, so the majority of American people obviously want that kind of government.
Let's see us in this bigger context.
Yeah.
I really would like to know what the youngest of us, you have still the whole life in front of you, how you see, not the whole life, you have already done some years, that's true, but you must unmute yourself before you speak. Yeah. And how it is for you, how you face this situation. And you're the people you know, your age group, let's say.
It's very loaded. I don't know. It's been interesting sitting here, being in a room full of international people who are looking at this from a distance. I'm not around that kind of conversation, so it's a little bit surreal for me because it feels so close and present here. And it feels hard to have long-term perspective about it. Of course, people are trying to hold on to hope, and they're trying to, rally together and be in community and find ways to continue to support each other, and but it's hard to know what's going to happen in the next 4 years. I mean, so much has happened in the last couple of weeks. So, personally, I don't know. I'm maybe a little bit too empathetic, a little bit too sensitive. I don't know. I've been noticing that, like, even if I'm not attuning to it directly or having conversations about it or whatever, I've been feeling like this like tightness and heaviness. And some of it is, I'm also like in Portland in the winter, and I mean today there's some sun outside, but sometimes it's gray multiple days in a row. And so, some of it is maybe just dark winter and everybody's having a hard time. But I do think that there's also a good amount that has to do with the state of the world right now, or the state of the country at any rate. So that's hard. I'm trying to figure out how to I don't know. I've always valued the fact that I'm sensitive to other people's feelings, and I've always valued the fact that I can tune into that. And but it's also really hard. And I don't know that I've built enough of a armor to protect my own innards. That was a strange way to put that. I don't know. What have I been doing? There's some part of me that sometimes my coping mechanism is to try to think of this. I've been taking screenshots of the New York Times pop-ups on my phone, kind of as a documentation or something. There's some part of me that's like, this will be interesting in decades from now to look back and say, oh, on this day, this crazy thing happened. Or I think one of my coping mechanisms has been trying to think of like when I'm a grandmother, how do I talk about what happened, or what's going to be remembered of this time, or what kind of documentation is happening right now, and how many things are getting erased. That's something I've been thinking a lot about is the history, and like, there's a lot of things that are getting erased. There's a lot of websites that are being taken down, and information that's going away, and scientific studies that are being halted or disappeared, or and that's really troubling to me. It's one thing to say, okay, there's destruction and we'll rebuild at the end, but to have no record of, I mean, who's keeping the records? Who's keeping the records of things before, or the truth, or information, or history? And if it, so that's something I've been thinking about. What else? A lot of distraction. I didn't play video games as a child, and I've gotten into them recently. And it's a lot of fun, like puzzle games. My mother is horrified. It's okay. I'm 32. I think I can confess to this. No, I mean, a lot of them are puzzle games or like funny little playful things. It's not, it's not like, I think my mother's imagining like shooting games or something. I'm not doing that. But very kind of, anyway, that's been fun. This class has been interesting. I don't know, I've been trying to read a bit more. And then I think just like I'm trying to just be the kindest I can be, or like just a kind spirit in the world. Like when I go out anywhere, I don't know how people are doing out there, and if I can just be a soft, kind presence, I think that's something. I mean, I also, I have the benefit, I live somewhere that like I mean, there's probably Trump supporters somewhere, but I don't know where they are. This is a pretty blue region. So in some ways it feels a little protected. Like I feel like it's feels safer to be in a state that feels safer. And the other two places I spend time are California and New York, which are also feel safer. So, there's some separation, but there's also the things that are happening or impacting everyone. I don't know. I'm rambling. It's a lot. It's a lot. And yeah.
Okay. So what I'm hearing from you, that you are more than I think we others in a state of fear and insecurity, which is normal in your age, I would say. You said maybe you haven't done enough resilience or something. You said it's clear. I mean, we are at least double as old as you. We had time to learn something in the meantime. And even then, it's not, that you are, I don't know where, so, but life is an experience. It needs to be experienced. And I think everybody has their own way to face the difficulties and to find support. And I think a little bit talking about these things is important to know that there are people around where you can talk freely without fearing that something happens. That's, for me, it's very important. And that going more into the spiritual part and leaving a little bit this worldly part, one against the other, and blah, bum, 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 on this, and I take part for these and against the others. For me, it's maintaining the energy instead of, we need to go out of this level and find a way to avoid to take parts, let's say, in this way. And what you say about keeping records, I think this is important, because nowadays it is enough one click and things goes away. That's why I buy books, although I don't read all of them. Often I start only and then I don't finish, but I think the books is more difficult to cancel, so I would recommend to rely less on electronic stuff and more on real stuff in all parts of life, I would say, even not to pay with a card or with a cell phone, but to pay with normal money. So we trying to stay in the more natural way of living. This is my ideology, and not to support the tendencies which want to bring us into, let's say, sort of slavery, So that's my conclusion for my life's journey, especially the last 5 years. So shall we do a short checkout? Maybe what you learned or what you take away from this session, or what was new for you, or what you still want to add. And somebody starts and then gives over to somebody
I'll go.
else.
Sure. So Beatrice, thank you so much for those shares. Think of yourself as a pearl, a little irritation. You just get to be a bigger pearl of wisdom. There's got to be a reason why we use that. But also, you're in the arts, and arts is one of the greatest ways to document what's going on in our history and express. So I think there's probably some really fun role for you to play through the arts, because that is a little bit more free, a little bit. I'm not going to exaggerate it, but I'm encouraged by our attitude. I think that we do have to accept that, much like birth is messy and painful, that out of that comes a child or a fresh animal, and if we keep holding onto that and don't live in fear and maintain our objective scientific human self, I think we'll be okay. So I appreciate this group and the sharing. It's a very positive experience.
Can you give over?
I will give to Hanel.
Thank you, Gina. I have no words, but I can tell you what I feel from what you all shared, and also what I myself experience at the moment. And I feel it up here, like higher heart area, and also my throat. And now I feel it in my legs as well. So it's grounded. Whatever we shared is deeply anchored into the earth, but there's also a lightness in my arms. And that gives me also a sense of freedom, which might sound completely counterintuitive. And with the wind blowing so much outside as well, it's like nature wants to echo back. We can ride the winds of change, or we can allow it to really demolish us. And maybe just to soften into whatever is happening and not just get stiff, because then it drains our energy and it steals our power, whatever is happening. So that's what my body is sharing. Thank you. I'm complete, and I pass to you, Chris.
Well, I am going to keep your words of wisdom, Hanna-Lee, and stay in touch with my body, stay in touch with nature. I think those are two things that can be helpful. So that will be my intention over the next few weeks. And think of Tom next Monday when he has his surgery, and I'll be able to report back hopefully positive things the following Monday to you all. Okay, and I will pass on to Lorraine.
Yeah, I guess I'm very impressed that all over the world, what's happening here has such an impact. It makes me feel like we really are all in this together. I mean, among these women, all of you, uniquely, you're all very self-aware, but it's a very good feeling to feel like we are not struggling with this alone. I mean, I'm sorry you're all suffering along with us, but you know, it's great that I think something really good will come of that. Maybe he will inadvertently unite us even further. My hope. And Victoria?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm late for another meeting, so thank you. Yeah, I just feel really heartened, like I said in my checkout, my check-in. There's so much hope in being in community, and that's why I love this community. Thank you, Heidi. Thank you for creating this community, and also the Integralen Frauen and the Frauen am Brunnen. And I feel like that's my little sort of my little nest that where I feel safe. So I just want to check out with gratitude, and yeah, and keep hope alive. Thank you. And I'll be praying for Tom, Christine next Monday. Oh, over to Beatrice.
It's lovely to be back. I'm not sure how consistently I can come, but I'm going to try to come as much as I can, especially when I have those Mondays off. And thank you. It was hard. It was the top when the topic was chosen. I had a moment of, oh, I kind of don't want to be here right now. Because I was facing it head on a little bit. But now that I've come to the other side of this conversation, I'm really appreciate all of you and the chance to talk about it and to hear wisdom from around the world and from different ages. So, thank you. You are still my family, even if I don't show up all the time. But I think of you often. I always see it on the calendar and think of you every Monday that you're meeting, even if I can't come. So much love to everyone, and I will pass to Munya.
Yeah, I just like this ride, the winds of change. This is really what Dakinis do, so let's be Dakinis and let's ride the winds of change. That's my checkout. And I also my best to Tom. We'll think of him.
Yeah, also from my part. And I can't say anything else than thank you. It's just precious to have all the international voices and to be, as I said before, to be able to talk about topics which are mainly avoided. So that's a big treasure, and I'm very grateful. And see you in 2 weeks. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.